This video might have been a bad idea. In this box here is a Fender Tom Delonge Starcaster. And in this box here, there's a Fender Tom Delonge Starcaster. And in this box here, there's a Squier Affinity Starcaster. Because in this video, I'm going to compare these two expensive Fenders against this cheap Squier. All right, let's jump into it. To keep this video as simple as possible, I'm going to unbox and assess each guitar individually first, and then I'm going to compare them in a way that I will figure out whilst I'm making the video. But first, let's open a Fender Starcaster. I gotta say, this has been packed fantastically, and it's packed in exactly the same way that the 𝗦𝗨𝗪𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 factory that Guild is. Okay, headstock reveal. That's pretty. That color is phenomenal. First impressions are that it is absolutely glorious. And I should say that I am a big fan of flat finishes and satin finishes as well. So this is 2 boxes ticked for me. It does look white, probably, on the camera. But if I show you on this camera and you compare it to that... Oh, hang on, let's put a white pick up against it. There's my pick, and there's the guitar. You can definitely see it's not white, although I could imagine it looking white in certain places. Right, I can see that the F-holes are not exactly round, and that's a bit disappointing. So that looks like someone's free-handed it with a router. Oh, on the output jack, there's a big scratch across just the metal plate. The nut was a big problem with the Fender Strats, the Tom DeLonges, and this looks good. They could have cleaned out some of the schwarf. The neck pocket looks acceptable. Overall, I'm pretty happy with that. There's no fret sprout. There's nothing initially that seems to be a problem. Of course, I haven't played it yet, so it might not even work. But let's unbox the second Fender Starcaster and see how that does up against this. This one has been inspected by Music Store, which is where I purchased it from. That pink is absolutely glorious. Right, let's take a look at this one. First impressions are that it's cold, because I was holding the other one for longer. No scratch on the output plate. Checking that first. So I know what to look for now. And that, to me, on first inspection, looks like it's a slightly better body than the first Starcaster. So I'm calling this Starcaster number 2. I've got a piece of tape here. That's going to go there. Number 2. This one has 0 cosmetic issues, apart from the F-holes. They just seem like they're not round. But certainly on stage, if you're playing it, no one's going to notice that. And if you're looking at those F-holes, you're probably looking in the wrong place. But now I'm going to unbox the Squier Affinity Starcaster, which was only €250, which is roughly a quarter of the price of the Fenders. Right, first thing you might notice about this is it's packed exactly the same way. Has a slightly different insert because it's a Squier, not a Fender. Now, this is not a roasted maple neck. It is a maple neck, however. And it has the Starcaster headstock on it rather than the Strat headstock that the other two have. And this neck feels a bit smaller. Ooh, and it's a bit smelly. Right. Oh, got a little switch on this one because we've got 2 pickups and a volume and a tone. Squier are giving you a lot for your money there. Bearing in mind that you can get really bad Strat and Tele copies at the same price as this. This takes, I would suggest, more work, or at least they're not just flying them through a CNC machine because of the nature of the semi-hollowness. But first impressions, it seems really thick. That seems thicker than the Fender Tom DeLonge, so I'm going to have to test that in a bit. F-holes, there's a little bit of red paint in there, which is so prominent, it looks like it's been done on purpose. So it's kind of red and black. That's a bit weird. But what a beautiful looking guitar. That is absolutely stunning. If you like bursts, there is 0 wrong with that. Onto the neck. This is what feels like typical Squier Affinity neck, but a good one. So it's soft, it's satin, it's smooth, there are 0 fret issues, and the nut is cut well. And the neck pocket seems almost as good, if not as good, as the Fenders. And what about this inspection card? Because I think these might be made in the same factory, because I don't think Fender has the capability to make the Starcaster bodies in America, which is why I think they're made in Indonesia. Yes, Bantz. Bantz was on the other inspection card from at least one of those Fenders. So either Bantz works at two factories, or this is made in the same factory as the Fender, which makes this video even more interesting. I'm saying this like I'm surprised, but I've just been holding two guitars that cost 4 times as much as this, and just from looking at the build quality, you wouldn't guess this was a quarter price. That being said, it might sound and play terrible, so looks are of course not everything. Right, so it's sitaring, sort of buzzing in certain places. It's the standard Squier story. It's comfortable to play, the playability is good, the intonation's almost in, but not quite. The bridge needs to be adjusted slightly, and the intonation needs to be adjusted. So I will do that now, and on the Fenders if they need it, just so I don't get any complaints about tuning. But know that it's not quite there, but it's not far off. What was interesting about that is that the whole playing and tuning experience, the 10 minutes that I spent, was definitely worth it, because I got to know the guitar a little bit. And the worst thing about it so far is the tuners, which, even though they hold tune, they're those tuners that when you go under the note, you can feel the tension get lost. So you need to definitely tune up to every note on these. There's no binding in the nut. Aside from that, it's a very playable guitar, although the strings are a little bit thinner than what I would like. So I'll make sure to compare the thickness to the ones on the Fenders. Fender 1. I've spent less time on this than I did on the Squier, about half the time I would say. However, that E right there, the saddle is as far back as it will go, and it's still not quite intonated. So I wouldn't want to judge too strongly without putting new strings on it, but my opinion is that that might not ever intonate. So far, the Squier intonates better than the Fender, but the Fender was set up better out of the shop, or out of the box, I should say. Let's try the second Fender. Just initial experiences of Fender versus Squier. This is a much better instrument. Anyone that tells you that a Squier is as good as a Fender, or anyone who tells you in the forums that the Squier Starcaster Affinity is made in the same factory as this Fender, so therefore it's the same guitar, is absolutely either lying or inexperienced, because this is clearly a better instrument in terms of playing and setup and attention to detail and build materials. The Fender is a better guitar so far. We need to plug it in to find out what the real differences are. The dual rectifier has been warming up all this time, so let's finally get some sounds. I'm going to start with the Squier, then go Fender number 1, then Fender number 2. I'm going to go and listen to the recording of that so I hear what you have just heard. All right, here's what I heard. Some sloppy playing. I heard the Squier was less defined, less bassy, and still sounded pretty good. The first Fender, I didn't hear much difference between the two Fenders, but I've just heard it back. I can tell you that I enjoyed playing the second Fender the most. And sometimes, you just connect with the guitar, and I'm trying to be as objective as I can, but this one is definitely the best, my favorite, shall we say, my favorite. I'm going to do some cleans as well, don't worry, because some of you are probably screaming saying, how can you hear the difference when you got so much gain? I'll also do some blink, so let's do that now. We'll start again with the Squier. Now that's interesting. The Squier still sounds good, but it was harder to play, and I had to be more careful with my fingering so I didn't get any bum notes. The Fenders are easier to play. Both of them sound more bell-like and louder and bigger. They sound huge by comparison to the Squier, but I'm having trouble picking out sonic differences between the two Fenders. Let's do some big open clean chords and you know, treat them as a normal guitar rather than as a Tom DeLonge signature. The intonation issues are really starting to show up on the one from Thomann, guitar Fender number 1. This is Fender number 2, of course. And by the way, where the guitar comes from is not a reflection on the store itself. It just means that some of the Fenders might be better than the others. So I don't want this to reflect badly on the shop that I got it from, is what I'm trying to say. The Squier came from Amazon, and yeah, that plays amazingly. But I'm still preferring the sound of the Fender, and I really want to know what you think, because as a player and as a listener, totally different experiences. It's just occurred to me that we should probably put this in the video. Now that is super interesting, and I'm not going to comment on it at all. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments section. That's the only time I'm going to feature this guitar in this video. All right, let's do some measurements. I don't actually know the best part to measure it because it's an arch top. Let's go right above the strap pin. Right, there we go. That's 45.58 millimeters on Fender number 2. Fender number 1, 47.40. And now this is, I can see this is thicker. Right, over the strap button, 50.44. There, 50.44. So that's about 4 millimeters thicker than the thinnest Fender. And if you think of like a 1 millimeter pick, 4 of those stacked together, that's how much bigger this is. It looks even bigger, but it isn't. That's surprising. This feels huge in comparison. I wonder how much it weighs. Let's weigh them all. So, zero the scales, and the Squier is 7.3 pounds, which is 3.3 kilos, or 7 pounds and 4 ounces. Fender number 1 is 6.6 pounds, or exactly 3 kilograms, or 6 pounds 10 ounces. And Fender number 2, which has 2 bits of tape on it, is 6.6 pounds, or 3 kilograms exactly. Wow, they're the same weight. I don't think I've ever weighed 2 identical models and for them to be the exact same weight. Very interesting. Is the Fender Tom DeLonge Starcaster just a Squier in disguise? No. No, it isn't. I mean, that's got a thicker body on it by far. Let's ignore the headstocks for a moment, all right? But yes, there's a huge price difference, but this is a far superior guitar. It may not sound like it before you jump in the comments and say, well, they sounded the same. I'm telling you from the player's point of view, I'm happy with the Squier, super happy, and that is a super great deal. But I'm really happy with that. Whether you need that, that's another question. But if you're hoping to buy one of these and make it into one of these, it isn't going to be the same. I mean, you could do a serious amount of work to it, but that body's still going to be a lot thicker. Not that noticeable, but noticeable. Stick a one pickup in it and, you know, bung up that hole and change the neck. Definitely change the tuners. You're probably going to end up with more than halfway to this. So unless you enjoy the project, which I quite frankly do, you might want to just go for the Fender in the first place. Sound-wise, the Fender sounds alive, whereas the Squier sounds a little bit sort of weak and diluted. Feel-wise, I'll take that Fender body all day long, but surprisingly, that neck on that Squier is really nice. It's more satin than the Fender, but if I took some Scotch-Brite to this and dulled it down a little bit, this would be the better feeling guitar by far. But at the moment, I'm surprised at how good that Squier neck feels. And fretwork and everything is just top-notch across the board. But I'm not forgetting that we have a second Fender. There seems to be a bit of an issue with the bridge placement because I've got the saddles almost all the way back on some of those, and here as well. So that might just be a Starcaster thing. I did try and stay impartial for the entirety of this video, but I can just feel that this is my favorite. However, my second favorite is the Squier, and that first Fender, I've kind of forgotten it exists. It's over there looking at me, which shows me there's nothing wrong with it. It's just this one is considerably better, and this one is a quarter of the price and is very, very good. Are they made in the same factory? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I would never say 100% certain unless I saw them come off the assembly line myself. But Bantz is on the Squier final inspection, and he's on one of the Fenders. I say he, could be a dog for all I know. Yeah, the setup is done by either people that have similar signatures or the same person. And the assembly of these two looks mightily similar as well. So yeah, I think it's the same factory. Does that mean they're the same guitar? No, but this Squier absolutely blows me away for 250 bucks. There is, however, one thing missing on the Fender that I think is a huge shame. And it is, of course, the fret markers. They've just gone for the dots, and the Tom DeLonge one has the Blink-182 logos. And I really think they could have tried a bit harder there. Maybe they're trying to keep the price down. Maybe they did try it and priced it up, and it just added too much to the price. But don't worry, look what I have. Fretlook stickers. And this is not sponsored by Fretlook, by the way, but they did send me these for free. In here are Fretlook's version of the fret markers for Tom DeLonge's signature Starcaster. Take a look at these. They are very authentic looking and will finish this Starcaster off. So if you're going to buy yourself one of these Fender Starcasters and you like Tom DeLonge, you haven't just bought it because it's a Starcaster, then these are kind of a necessity, and they're not that expensive. I could take this hang tag off now because this guitar is staying with me, and you'll see it in future videos if you click subscribe up there. If you want one of your own, there are links in the video description and first comment. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!